Hey guys, welcome into Fantasy Football Academy 2020. I am the Dean, and this is the waiver show. So, waivers for week 8. And before I get into it, it's a good day to be a Skins fan. Look, didn't mention it on yesterday's show. Wanted the week to get settled and get the Monday night game out the way before we dive into it. But look, my boys crushed Dallas. I don't care if they're depleted. It's still a crush. It's still a win. And we are drinking to the success of the formerly named Redskins. I love it. Tastes extra good today. So, Chris, Leo, sorry guys. Those are my two Cowboys fans. Also, my brother Philip. So, don't know what you guys are going to do now. You down to your third string quarterback, provided that Andy Dalton comes out of concussion protocol or doesn't come out of concussion protocol before the Week 8 matchup with Philly. Don't know what to tell you guys, but we're going to enjoy this one through the bye week. So the byes for this week, we got Houston, Arizona, the Jags, and Washington. Of course, Arizona, probably the biggest fantasy implications for that. No Kyler Murray, no D-Hop. You got a dinged-up Kenyon Drake, no Chase Edmonds. With Houston, no David Johnson, no Deshaun Watson. If you're relying on Brandon Cooks, Will Fuller, Darren Fells, those guys are all on buys. For the Jags, if you were thinking about streaming Gardner Minshew, think again because he's not playing. James Robinson at running back, you're going to have to find a replacement for. I'm going to have to find a replacement for this week. Also, for Washington, my boy Scary Terry McLaurin is lost to a bye this week. And then Antonio Gibson, if you were relying on him in any way, along with Logan Thomas at tight end. But there are plenty of tight ends this week on my waivers. So we're going to get into it. We're going to do a review real quick of my league of record with the Academy grads 2020. Let's go ahead and check in with them and see what's going on. So this was my game of the week right here against New Car Smell and Mr. Nick, the three-time recipient of Dunce of the Week, and we're about to show you guys why. Let's go box score here. We're going to show you guys, and this is something that we all need to pay attention to. We're going to go down his roster real quick, and we're going to show you some improvements that can be made and some things that a lot of first-time fantasy owners neglect to take care of in a timely fashion. Okay, guys? So we see Odell Beckham right here at the beginning of this week. As soon as you are able, you need to drop Odell. He is gone for the year. ACL tear, and we're going to get into the injuries in just a few minutes across the league. We see Baltimore was on a bye, and so he lost his kicker and his tight end, did not get a replacement. There are plenty out there, but here's the thing. You might be thinking, well, hey, Dean, he didn't want to drop Tucker. He didn't want to drop Andrews. What is he supposed to do? Here's the thing, and I've mentioned this before, I believe last week. Nick Chubb sitting here taking up a bench spot when he should be on his injury reserve spot. Not sure if it shows. It does not. In our league of record, and I don't know about leagues anywhere else or any other platform. I know with my Yahoo league, my listener league for 1-3-7 the game here in Lafayette, we have one IR spot regardless. Now, in my league of record here with the academy grads, I've put, because of COVID, put 3 reserve spots. Usually there's only 2, just so you don't have to lose a guy to maybe a longer term injury. This year it's a little different. When you normally went on IR, you were out 6 to 8 weeks. So if you were on an IR, the IR designation meant that you were out a minimal 6 weeks. This year, because of COVID, 3 weeks is the minimum that you have to stay on IR. So Nick Chubb, with his injury, should have been moved to IR. With him being on the IR list, that would open up a roster spot. Then you have Emmanuel Sanders on the COVID list. This also qualifies as a move. So he frees up 2 roster spots. Guess what? There's your missing starters right there. Okay, guys? Yes, he had a bye for Hollywood Brown, had a bye on Thielen, had a bye on Houston or on Indianapolis with T.Y. Hilton. So this week he's going to get those back. He's going to get back his starting tight end, his starting kicker. But this could have been handled a whole lot better and more effectively if he had made those moves. Let's go check out. He started Jared Goff against Chicago as opposed to starting Joe Burrow against Cleveland. Now, we all saw what Joe Burrow did in week 1 against, I believe it was week 1 or week 2 against Cleveland. This was the rematch, okay? Look, he already torched these guys. He's gotten better since then. He should have been in his lineup. That is double what Goff put up. If you put that in and you give him an extra 20 points, he scored 77. You give him an extra 20, he's at 97. Let's just say that you give him an extra, Kelsey got 6. Let's give him 8 because Kelsey just had a bad beat right there. So you're looking at 107 points right there. Give another 10 for the kicker, just to be generous. So you're looking at 117 points. And you might be thinking, yeah, Dean, that's great, but he still would have lost because you scored 162. Yes, you're right. But here's the thing, is that even though your record may get you ranked, your points are tiebreakers, okay? If you've got somebody in, like in my league of record, we've got a bunch of us that were sitting prior to this week at 3-3. I was sitting at the 8th spot, but another guy who was at 3-3 as well, because he scored more points, was sitting at number 3. We have one guy with 6-0, another guy was 5-1 or 4-2 going into this week. Well, because he scored so many points than I had, he was still 3-3, but he scored more points, so he got to get ranked at 3rd. If the playoffs are then, guess what? I'm out of the playoffs. He's in. We got the same record. How upset are you going to be if you wind up with the same record as the last place team in the playoffs, but you are on the outside looking in because the guy who's in last place scored more points? These are things you need to think of. Every point counts. That's why it's important to not leave points on your bench. Okay. Now we scroll down a little bit. We see that I left really no points on my bench because there was nobody that was scoring more points. I had Justin Herbert over Big Ben at 16.62. Robert Woods was on my bench at 5 points. And let's see, all my receivers, did a whole lot better than that. I had Terry McLaurin scoring 25, Juju scoring 17, James Robinson just went ballistic at 119 yards, a rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, and 18 yards receiving. So really good. Kareem Hunt scoring 76 rushing yards, 26 receiving, and receiving touchdown to give me 19. My Steelers kind of disappointed. Thought they would do a little better, but my Ravens were on a bye, so I had to get something. And then Henderson down here with 9.7. Look, it was against Chicago. I wasn't expecting them to do anything anyway, so that's why they were riding my bench as opposed to in my starting lineup. And I know you're thinking, well, God, hey, it's Robert Woods, PPR machine. That's great if he's getting the receptions. You see, he had a fumble. He only had 22 yards receiving, 23 yards rushing. And when your wide receiver has more rushing yards than receiving yards, something's wrong. I like the usage. I like the fact that he's getting involved in the run game as well. But I only put up 5.5 points. It's not going to make me want to start him against a decent defense. Okay. I think this week, let's click on and see who they're facing this week. Week 8 against Miami. Miami's not shabby, but I might be a little more inclined to start him this week, especially since I'm looking for a replacement for Terry McLaurin. So he will probably crack my starting lineup for this week. I also get Myles Gaskin in to sub in for James Robinson. We get to see what Myles Gaskin looks like behind Tua Tagovailoa, making his first start against the Rams this week. So that was our game and a little insight into what you need to pay attention to. Let's take a real quick look. Alpha Chads moving up a little bit, getting a win over these Cowboys. Boy, Dallas just can't win. Not only is the team not winning, but the fans aren't winning either. So, Chris, you know how to take a jab at you, boy. Let's look down here. Carson Wentz going against the Giants. Look, if you saw this game, I went to bed on this game, okay? I couldn't stand to watch this game anymore. It was just ugly. It feels like it should have ended in another tie because I don't think either team really deserved to win, but it is what it is. CEH in Denver, and look, I told you guys before this week started to take a look at the weather report and see what kind of game this was going to be. And I told you guys it was supposed to be a snowy game. That was a prediction for the weather. It did turn out to be snow, turned out to be really windy. The passing game was basically non-existent. When we get down to the returning champs team, Mandy, my wife, we're going to see that Mahomes put up really low numbers. You see here, CEH 13.3, not too shabby. Did get the score, got 46 yards. Should have probably had another touchdown, but I think that's just going to be him in a nutshell. We see Julio here with 17.7 points, 97 yards receiving. And look, when Julio's in, he's awesome. They have a Thursday night game, and he actually has popped up on the injury list with a hip injury. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to be anything more than maintenance, trying to keep him healthy for Thursday night's matchup. Let's take a real quick look. Get a little news here. If it'll let us. Sorry, it's not letting us, guys. Let me reduce this real quick. Nope. So anyway, but yeah, he's got the Thursday night matchup this week. Matter of fact, you know what? Hold on just a second. Always got the backup. And if you guys don't have your fantasy league on your mobile phone, I don't know what you're doing. It needs to be there. You need to be able to reference it on the go. So let's see here. And this is Alpha Chad. We'll see in the rankings that Alpha Chads are just below the cutoff for how they get Carolina this week. Yep. So they get Carolina this week in the matchup. Teddy B going against that Atlanta defense. Ooh, excuse me, is going to be my bonus waiver pickup if he's not already rostered in your league. So let's see. You got a hip injury. Yeah, they're operating under the assumption that this is just a maintenance issue. So they have to give a designation. So I don't think that with that kind of performance he had, like I said, 97 yards. I think he should be fine. Keep an eye out on Wednesday's report, and keep an eye out for just before the game when they list the inactives. If Jones is there, make sure that he is in your wide receiver position, so that all your Thursday night guys should be in your wide receiver. If they're wide receiver, they need to be in your wide receiver designation roster spot, not in your flex. Why? Because if something happens with your other guys on Thursday or Friday, you need to be able to pivot to another player, and maybe you've got a better running back than you do a receiver on your bench. So if there's a guy taking up your flex position, then you're not going to be able to pivot the way you should. All of your Monday night players need to be in your flex position. Okay. So let's keep that in mind as we're moving forward. Okay, guys. I know I've mentioned it before, but we need to pay attention to that. So going down here, Jameson Crowder. Look, I don't know why he's even rostered right here. Cole Beasley definitely needs to be the one in your lineup. He has probably one of the safest productions in the league. Facing the Jets. Apparently, Chris isn't listening. Chris, subscribe, like, share, brother. Do something. I'm trying to help you here, my man. Can't leave 112 yards and 23 fantasy points on your bench and expect to make the playoffs, brother. We see Deebo Samuel down here. Deebo pops up on the injury list as well. That's why Brandon Ayuk, if he is not rostered in your lineup, you need to get him. Okay, guys? So, we also see Tyler Lockett down here. Guys, if Tyler Lockett is not in your lineup, I don't know what you're doing. This could have been a crush for Luke, putting him in place of DJ Shark. I like the production you're getting from Todd Gurley against Detroit. So, let's see real quick. So Atlanta gets Carolina. Make sure you're firing up all your Carolina boys. Mike Davis probably has one more good week before CMC decides to make his comeback. In week 9, they're not going to roll him out, and they're catching Atlanta on a short week. So Mike Davis should be a real good option to put in for your flex. If you don't have anybody else at running back, put him in a running back. I'm sorry, put him in a running back anyway because it's a Thursday night game. I just said that, so listen to myself. Let's roll down here. We see Chris Thompson was on the COVID. Jacksonville gets the bye this week, so not really too worried about that. And we see down here, Chris is actually doing really good things, with the exception of Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton just needs to be dropped. He just needs to go away and free up that spot in case he gets somebody else who's on IR. Okay. And I don't know if he didn't want to start Antonio Gibson because he's Washington and he was playing Dallas, but going up against the Tampa Bay defense, I know Jacobs would have been a hard sit, but he's got 2 other good matchups. Philip Lindsay got knocked out in the game with Denver, so having Gordon in your lineup, really good a plus. See, Amari Cooper actually had some kind of production, so that was good there. Real quick, let's go down. Cajun Poodoos and Dustin in the Fighting Infernapes. Look, this game, I saw this game before it got started, and I thought that Dustin had this. He was up, and then this happened, and it was ugly. Russell Wilson, 35 points. And then we look to the other side, and we see Kenyon Drake with 5.10. Look, this was an extremely disappointing performance. Drake gets hurt. He's doubtful now. He gets the bye week to try to rest up. And I don't know what else. Yeah, he left Deontay Johnson. He and I already spoke about this. I don't really know what he could have done realistically. Deontay had not been producing. And we're going up against Tennessee. It was just a bad beat, and bad beats part of fantasy football. Welcome to the world. Sorry, just can't predict those kind of things. D-Hop had a really good game, gave 25 points. Jared Cook came through. CeeDee Lamb fell down. So after that, and Devontae Freeman, 0.8, I would have thought I would have won too. But yeah, it was just disappointing, and those things just happen. So, and we see my boy D Money. D Money is he's taking a week off work. Prayers and good wishes go out to him. So hope he gets better. He's feeling a little under the weather. So if you guys can send some love and support for my boy D Money, you know him, you love him, you've seen him on here before with me during draft season, doing some mock drafts with us. He is actually my star pupil of the academy. So learning a lot, making some really good moves. His boy Josh Allen kind of fell down. Elliott kind of fell down a little bit. He did make the good pivot to Chase Edmonds since Aaron Jones was listed as inactive for this game, so he was keeping an eye on that, as he should. Good job, D Money. Glad you picking up on it. So he only left 20 points on the bench, and there was really nothing he could have done different. Marvin Jones, I've told him time and time again to drop him. He actually had somewhat of a decent showing, but his boy A.J. Brown finally paid off this week. 153 yards and a TD for 31.3 points. That was awesome. And we see that Dalton only left, let's see, what was it? 11.9 points on the bench because everyone that he owned was basically on a bye. Joe Mixon was listed as inactive for this game. So, yes, Giovanni Bernard does make my waiver list this week again. Keenan Allen doing big things with Justin Herbert. That's a nice 1-2 punch there. Tyler Higbee listed as inactive before this game, and this is something that needed to be caught. If he had replaced, let's just say 10 points, 12 points, he could have pulled this out. He did kind of have a bad showing. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think he had. Oh, here, yeah, the Monday night game. I believe just Gerald Everett was available in our league, so with Gerald Everett in there, could have pivoted, could have dropped. So things you need to make sure that you're paying attention to for Monday night games. Any games really, but especially the Sunday night game and the Monday night game. You need to really pay attention to your starters and be able to know who is available in your league to pivot to. Okay. Charles and the Slutty Mutts, y'all should be ashamed of yourself for beating up on my wife like that. So I'm just saying. No, he had a really good game. And this is just one of those things where you just run into a buzzsaw sometimes, and there's really nothing you can do about it. Kyler Murray with 43, Kamara with 22, caught a break with Mike Evans not doing anything. I think he had 3 receptions for 37 yards. Chris Carson out early with a foot injury. Devontae Adams just went bananas. 56 points. The only receiver I believe that topped him was Tyler Lockett with 56. Tyler Boyd, 28 in the loss to Cleveland. Jonnu Smith. Look, I told you guys before, Jonnu should not have been in your lineup. There were much better options out there. Logan Thomas. Just saying. The Bucks D, 6 points, but really, when you've got 2 receivers, a running back, and a quarterback giving you 28, 46, 43, 22, that's just crazy. And his kicker chips in for 10. Take a look down here. See Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick pops up on the. Yeah, see, look, he went out and got Hawkinson and didn't even start him. Why he's carrying T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd is beyond me. That's definite trade bait. Something that can be leveraged. The wife does get Blankenship and Dalvin Cook hopefully back this week. And like we said, Mike Davis was on her bench. And we see down here, Pat Mahomes with 14 points. Look, guys, that is totally weather related and just game script. That's just how that game went. That's something that we paid attention to. Started Matt Ryan, got 19.5. I expected this game to be a lot more than what it was. It was not. So the fumble takes away from getting her over the 20 mark for him. It's just one of those things, honey. Sorry, we tried. But as we see, not a whole lot of points left on the bench. Chris Godwin was about the only one that we could have put in here. Chase Claypool, very disappointing outing. That would have been much better result. Got her about 131 points, 130 points with that 20-point swing. But it is what it is. And let's see, what was it? 20? Yeah, 22. Give her about 134, 135, something like that. But is what it is. You're still in third, honey. So let's real quick. We're going to check out our matchups for next week. Got the returning champs versus the fighting infinites. We've got myself and Alpha Chads. 3-4 and 3-4, battling it out. And this is what I'm talking about, guys. Real quick, let me switch over here. We see I'm in 5th, he's in 7th, but because I've scored more points, I have the better record then. Both of us sitting at 3 and 4. So I would be in the playoffs. He would be on the outside looking in. Nick and Hunter got number 1 versus number 9. Got C's Cowboys versus Danny's RBU. And I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead right now and we will make this the matchup of the week. Danny's RBU versus C's Cowboys. D-Money versus my boy Chris. We'll go ahead and make this the matchup of the week. 6 versus 4. We've got 3 versus 8. And then we've got 2 versus 10 with Slutty Mutts and Charles versus COVID-19ers and Dalton. Dalton, I hope Tua works out for you, buddy. Real quick, let's go down his list. Watson's on a bye. Fuller's on a bye. Higbee needs to be dropped. So that's the review for week 7. Real quick, we're going to get into the injuries. I'm just going to burn through some of these real quick. And you guys need to make sure that if these guys that I'm mentioning are on your roster, you need to follow their progression through the week, through practice, and make sure that these players are either getting better, or if you need to go pick up a replacement for them, or plan to put them on your bench and plug in someone else from your roster. Kenyon Drake has a torn ligament in his ankle, so he's dealing with that. Chase Edmonds is your pivot here. If he is still available in your league, he's your waiver wire pickup for that. Seriously doubt he is. He's usually rostered. He's one of those high-value targets, high-value handcuffs, like a Latavius Murray, has standalone value by himself. Aaron Jones, your pivot there is Jamal Williams. He is probably still on your waiver wire. So if you need some running back help, if you are the Aaron Jones owner, you need to put Jamal Williams on your roster immediately. Austin Hooper is coming back from appendix surgery. Odell Beckham Jr. is out for the year with a ACL tear. Philip Lindsay is in concussion protocol, and he's visiting Andy Dalton. That is as well. Tim Patrick with Denver, wide receiver, is dealing with a hamstring injury. Devontae Freeman is dealing with an ankle injury. Chris Carson, foot strain. But here's the bad thing is that Carlos Hyde is also dealing with a hamstring issue. So you guys need to pay attention to the backfield of Seattle. Make sure that see what they're doing with that. I don't know if I'd go pick anybody else but these two guys up. So you're going to need to pay attention when I burn through my running back waiver wire pickups. Okay, guys. Zach Ertz is out with an ankle injury. He hasn't been doing a whole lot anyway. If he's on your roster, get him off. Okay. John Brown dealing with a knee injury. So that is going to make Cole Beasley, if he is not already rostered in our league of record, as you saw, my boy Chris has Cole Beasley. Not using him, needs to, but he's not. Deebo Samuel, we talked about a little bit, has a hamstring issue. That means that Brandon Ayuk is actually going to be in play this week. Michael Thomas, I don't know what's going on with that guy. I don't know. He's got an ankle, got a hamstring, attitude, contract. Don't know. We also, real quick note, the trade deadline is coming up. So make sure that you're paying attention to the rumors, to who's going to be traded where. You got teams making moves, team dumping players. Houston is rumored to want to deal David Johnson, try to get back some of the picks that they lost in the DeAndre Hopkins trade. Worst trade I've seen, aside from when my boys traded for Ricky Williams and did absolutely nothing with the entire draft. They basically got 2 drafts and did nothing with them. Don't know what was going on there. Saints fans, I'm sure that you remembered Mike Ditka trading the entire draft for Ricky Williams. Sorry. Devontae Parker dealing with a groin injury. Make sure we keep an eye on that. Sammy Watkins dealing with a hamstring issue. We already spoke about the Julio Jones hip injury. Devontae Johnson dealing with an ankle injury, left that game after scoring 2 touchdowns. So maybe Chase Claypool is back on the map. So we can only hope and pray. Tyler Higbee has a hand injury. He wasn't doing that well before the hand injury. So if Gerald Everett is out there, go get him. Mark Ingram, supposed to be coming back from an ankle injury, but check on his status before you do anything. And Joe Mixon is dealing with a foot injury. Okay, guys. So let's get into why we're here. Here for the waiver wires. Who do I go get? Look, Dean, I'm hurt. I'm dealing with bye weeks. You know, I lost D-Hop. I'm losing McLaurin. I'm losing James Robinson. I'm losing Will Fuller. I'm losing Brandon Cooks. I don't have a quarterback. I lost Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson. I wanted to stream Gardner, but he's gone too. So he was my backup. Okay. So what do? Here's what you do. You start anybody against Seattle. Okay. Guess who's going against Seattle this week? That's right. 49ers and Jimmy G. Fire him up. Jimmy G looking good, coming back. He had a little hiccup where he got benched. But I think he got a wake-up call. So go ahead with all confidence. Start Jimmy G. They're going to find a way to get it done. Okay, guys. Kittle, healthy, back. Look for a big game from him. But you say, oh, man, Jimmy G's taken. He's a backup. Okay, hold on. Here we go. about Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is going against Dallas. Look, I know Philly isn't the sexiest pick. It's not the pick you want. They're depleted at wide receiver. Look at what Washington just did to Dallas. I know Washington probably has a better defense than Philly does, but they've got a better quarterback than Washington does. So I know it pains me to say, but Kyle Allen is not the answer for Washington's woes. Sorry. Carson Wentz, much better quarterback. He's got Travis Fulgham that he's developed a rapport with. They've got Boston Scott that they're working out of the backfield. So going against Dallas, fire him up. You're good to go. Wait a minute. Carson Wentz is gone too. Okay, here's what you do. Go get Derek Carr. I almost said David Carr. Derek Carr this week. He's going against Cleveland. I know they didn't have a really good showing against Tampa Bay, but it was Tampa Bay, guys. Also, their entire offensive line was dealing with the COVID issue, so they didn't really have a whole lot of practice time. So that issue was going on. Everybody should be healthy. Everybody should be good to go. We should all be through COVID protocols, whatever. Derek Carr should be good to go for the game against Cleveland. We saw what Joe Burrow did. Derek Carr should be able to replicate in some form or fashion that performance. Running back, look, if Giovanni Bernard is not on your roster, if he's not rostered in your league, he needs to be. Go get him if you have a spot. Joe Mixon is iffy. Plus the fact that even if Mixon plays, Gio still has value in this game. Okay, guys? So definitely go check that out. I'm going to pull up the schedule here real quick. Let's go on real quick while I'm doing this. Jamal Williams. If you don't have Jamal Williams in your lineup, if you're the Aaron Jones owner, he needs to be, because we do not know what's going on with Aaron Jones yet. Let's see. Cincinnati. The Bengals get the Titans. I know, not a good matchup. But Gio still needs to be on your roster. He still needs to be there. If you were starting Joe Mixon and you really don't have anyone to pivot to, Gio's going to be your boy. Boston Scott against Dallas. Already spoke about how bad Dallas's defense is. Antonio Gibson lit these guys up. I know Boston Scott really didn't have that good of a showing against a bad Giants team, but there's something going on with Dallas. You can roll out basically anybody. I could get, 50 yards and a touchdown, probably against Dallas defense. So, wide receiver, there's a plethora of wide receivers this week on your roster, and I'm gonna show you guys real quick. There's going to be some guys that you're going to take and you're going to stash. Okay, you can kind of get them on the DL, get them on the down low. Okay, Allen Lazard is supposed to make it a week 9 return from core muscle surgery. Now, why is this important? This is important because apparently MVS is not one of Aaron Rodgers' favorite targets. However, Allen Lazard is. Okay, Allen Lazard coming back. We saw what Allen Lazard was before. Real quick, let's go ahead and I'll pull Lazard up for you guys, and we'll see what I'm talking about. So Alan Lazard, yes, he's on IR. You see he's available. Prior to his injury, 27.4 points, 146 yards, and a touchdown against New Orleans. Now, why was he so potent against New Orleans? Because he wasn't getting their number one coverage corner. He was going somewhere else. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, this is just before Devontae Adams got hurt. So we see here week 9 against San Fran on Thursday. They're going to catch San Fran on a short week. And then he gets Jacksonville. Scroll down here. Philly just before the start of the fantasy playoffs. Detroit in the first round. Then Carolina. Gets not that great a matchup for the championship finals, but enough to make you happy with his production if you need help at wide receiver. Okay, guys? So you can take Lazard, you can stash him on your bench. You can be happy with that, okay? Cole Beasley, if he is not rostered, like I said before, he's rostered in my league of record, but if he is not rostered, you need to go out and get Cole Beasley. Very safe production. You can plug him in. I think he scored, aside from week 1, I think he had 9 points. After that, no less than 11. This past week, blow-up performance, loved it. Moving forward, with John Brown being injured, he is going to be the secondary guy behind Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs, you know, is going to get coverage. Beasley is the slot guy. That's where he's made his living. He made his living in Dallas like that. He's made his living in Buffalo now. So he's always been a very good, very stable, very healthy start. So if you need some good, solid production, Cole Beasley is going to be your guy. We've talked about next guy on my list, Brandon Ayuk, with the Deebo Samuel injury. Definitely a roster-worthy pickup. Now, the next 3 guys, kind of bonus guys. Last week we talked about Travis Fulgham. Look, with Deshaun Jackson, came back, got injured, same game that he comes back in. This makes Travis Fulgham the number 1 start in Philly, and he gets Dallas this week. Couldn't be anything better, okay? Rashad Higgins. You're like, who? He's taking OBJ's spot. Well, Landry is probably taking OBJ's spot, and then Rashad Higgins. Now, Landry is also dinged up, so Rashad Higgins, we saw, got a good rapport with Baker Mayfield, worth a start. Christian Kirk, definite flex ability, and they're on a bye this week, so he's probably not going to be targeted highly this week. Okay, guys? And you might be thinking, hey, Dean, why would I want a guy on a bye? Future use. Plus the fact that 9 times out of 10, if the guy's worth anything and you're not high on the waiver wire priority, you're not going to get him. Now, if you need help this week, target these guys that are playing. Then later, after the waivers have already processed, then you can go and look and see if guys like that, or guys like I'm about to mention in tight end, are there as well. Next guy I'm going to mention at tight end, that was it for my receivers. Moving on to tight ends, Austin Hooper. You're like, wait a minute, didn't you just say Austin Hooper was out with an appendix surgery? Yes, but it's a very favorable end of season matchups. He gets the Giants and the Jets weeks 15 and 16. So if you If you need a good tight end, if you can make it into the playoffs, all you've got to do is win 1 week in week 14, and you get Austin Hooper to help push you to the fantasy championship. Okay, guys. If you don't have one of the top flight tight ends, Kittle, Kelsey, I'm not going to throw Andrews in there because he hasn't really done what he did last year, but Andrews was up there. Then Austin Hooper can be a very good uh, add to your roster. Why? Because the Browns are probably going to be making a playoff push this year. They're not going to be tanking, so they're looking better than they have been, and they're looking competitive. That's the most important thing. Next guy, and I can't believe I'm saying this again, Gronkowski. I know I'm getting run over by the Brady hype train. I don't want to be. I'll wave to it as it goes by. I'm not hopping on it. But Gronk, the way that they're trying to use him, trying to get him involved, he's had, I believe, 22 targets in the last 2 games. So he's getting highly involved in the passing game. And he's seeing, with all the weapons around Brady this year, with Godwin, you got Scotty Miller, you got Mike Evans. Gronk is getting these matchups that he's never gotten before. He's beating guys that he hasn't never been able to match up with. These slower linebackers, these guys who aren't really that great at coverage. He's getting like the third best guy, because they got to put the other 2 guys on Godwin and Evans, or they're going to burn them. So there's just too many targets in Tampa Bay. That's why if you have Brady, you need to start Brady. I know it pains me to say as well, but it's the truth. Can't argue with that. This week he gets the Giants. Perfect matchup if you need help at tight end. Next guy, Gerald Everett, with Higbee out and hurt, and he was already beating him in snap count for the last couple of games before he even got hurt. Gerald Everett is the guy in LA with the Rams. He's going to be the guy. Logan Thomas, if you need a stash, if you've got a guy who's coming up on a bye, and this is an important thing, look ahead. Don't be caught off guard. Do yourself a favor. Look ahead at the upcoming week. Who do you have going on a bye for week 9? If you have a guy going on a bye in week 9, you need help, pick up a good player who's on waivers, who's on a bye this week, so you can use them next week when your rostered guy is on a bye. Okay, little tips, little help. Also, defense. Already mentioned one of them, Philly. I know. It's ugly, but Philly's going up against possibly a 3rd string quarterback, 7th round pick, Brian DiNucci, or Ben DiNucci, I don't know. And his last name is DiNucci with Dallas. Look, the Cowboys are hurting. They're reeling. They're kind of all over the place, and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to right the ship anytime soon. They really can't fire Mike McCarthy. They're not going to fire Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator. The only guy left to fire is the defensive coordinator. And unless that happens this week, don't look for it. So Philly versus Dallas. Philly's defense. It's just a good matchup, guys. That's all I can tell you. My number 2, and I'm only giving you 2 on defense, guys. Most of your defenses are taken and it's matchup based anyway. But if you need help, if you're carrying Washington, the Jags, Arizona, and Houston's defense really weren't that sought after, so you really shouldn't need that much help this week. If you have the KC defense, congratulations, you get to play the Jets. So, but New Orleans versus Chicago. Look, the Rams just put up 15 points against Chicago. Okay. So, with New Orleans, I think New Orleans has a good enough defense to make Nick Foles mess up enough. I think they get the win here. They send Chicago down to, I believe it's 5-3 after this week, or at least deal them the third loss. I'm not sure they've already had their bye or not. But, and I don't have producer because I'm a one-man show here for you guys. But anyway, yeah, New Orleans versus Chicago. This game, if you're looking for help in defense, you can barely get better unless you're Philly. You really can't get better than Chicago and Nick Foles, who is just an interception machine, fumbleitis, you name it, they're doing it. So, yeah, think that about, yep, we're good. So, guys, that's the waiver show. We've gone over a lot this morning. I appreciate the patronage and the patience. Look, remember, guys, you need to be aware of what's going on in the environment surrounding players. That's why I do this. That's why I bring you the content I bring you, is so that you can reign supreme over your competition. And don't forget, guys, that we have to, sorry, I had to read that, review and adjust your lineups according to the environment surrounding your team or your players, okay? That's why I'm bringing this up. That's why I do the content I do, and that's why I'm trying to make you a better fantasy manager, okay? Guys, remember, don't forget my sponsors, Keller's Bakery in Youngsville. It's off the Youngsville Highway, 627 Lafayette Street. You can find them on Facebook. Make sure when you order that you mention that the Dean sent you and get you 2 free cookies. Down below when you subscribe, like, and share, leave me a comment and let me know what flavor you got and how much you loved it, okay? Also, go find Zia of Lafayette down off of Doucette Road, right in front of Red Laurel's Health Club, behind the Grand Theater off of Johnson. You go down and find them. Look, we've opened up. We're at 75% capacity. We extended the hours until 9 o'clock. Okay, so they're not open until 8 anymore. They extended another hour. We're getting back to as much normal as we're allowed to get back to, guys. So go down and see Tucker, Heath, and Leonard, all the guys down there. Tell them Dean sent you. Dean says hi. And go enjoy some of those delicious corn grits. It's awesome. They're phenomenal. Get you some rotisserie chicken while you're down there and some of the good ribs. They're coming off the grill. Okay, guys? Make sure you check out the new menu items. We got a Memphis barbecue panini, off the chain. Love it. We've got the new chicken quesadilla. Doing good on that one too. And then remember, on Fridays, it's Fish Fry Friday at Zia. Okay, go down here, get some good catfish, and enjoy some of the grits with it. Good Southern dish. So, guys, remember my sponsors. Remember to subscribe, like, and share so you can reign supreme over your competition. All right, guys? Love y'all. Appreciate the patience. Take care of each other. Remember, if you're still masking up, mask up. Take care of each other. Wash your hands. Okay? We'll see you guys next time. Tomorrow, we're going to run down we did the waiver show today. We're going to do my start sets of week 8 tomorrow. So make sure you guys tune in for that, and we will see you next time on Fantasy Football Academy 2020.